Morty.
Welcome to the OnlyFans Secrets Marketing Podcast. The goal of this podcast is to help both new and established OnlyFans creators learn the basics of online branding, marketing, and promotion to help you make more money with your content and maximize your time online. My name is Richard Lewis, and I have over 20 years of internet marketing experience. So let's get started with today's topic. And that topic is preventing OnlyFans burnout. Okay, so sometimes in life, our drive to succeed is so great that we throw ourselves fully into our work and end up burning ourselves out. We want to succeed on OnlyFans badly, so we run ourselves into the ground trying to do so. In this podcast, we'll discuss the stages of burnout and the ways to prevent and recover from it. Okay, so what are the stages of burnout? Okay, so first would be excessive drive or ambition. So that just basically means you have a goal, you want to achieve it, and you're going to work as hard as you can to get there. And that's sort of stage one. That's the build up. And then second is pushing yourself to work harder. So, as we've gone over in the podcast before, OnlyFans rewards hard work. It's set up to do so. So if you're not succeeding at first on a particular marketing channel or on OnlyFans itself, then you might push yourself to do more work with the assumption that you are going to succeed more if you push harder. So you push yourself and you work harder. All right. So then the third stage is neglecting personal care and needs. So, there's only so much time in the day. So what happens is that you start to put off those things that are core to your health or personal care, and you go ahead and do the work instead of doing those basic tasks, and there might be some things that are, needed and other ones that you're like, well, that's just pampering myself, like cooking yourself a meal instead of, eating fast food would be an example. So you just go with whatever is the quickest so that you can get back to working. Okay, and then stage 4 is displacement of conflict. So at this point, you're looking at problems in your life and you're saying, okay, well, I'm going to put them off into the future because I'm trying to get work done now. So anyone who might have an issue with that, you start to remove yourself from. Any sources of frustration, you also kind of remove yourself from. So you just sort of become in a zone where you just do not want to hear, any argument against, what your goals are of working. Okay, so stage 5 becomes no time for non-work related needs. So now you're at the stage where you're putting off everything that doesn't have to do with work. You're either delaying it or you're putting it off completely. But if it's not work related, then you're basically not devoting a lot of time to it. Okay, then the 6th stage would be denial. So, that's the stage in a lot of different things, but denial is you basically saying, okay, well, it's not a problem, that I'm putting off all these personal things, they'll get done eventually. But for right now, I need to work on my OnlyFans. I need to get this going and get it successful. So you just sort of live in your own kind of bubble and, won't accept any feedback from other people that you might be pushing yourself a little bit too hard. And then stage 7 is withdrawal. So that's at a point where you just sort of really go into your own bubble. You just push yourself or pull back into yourself and your work needs, and you just put them, above everything else. And then stage 8 is behavioral changes. So this could be, anything from your mood changing to you deciding that you don't need as much sleep. You're, replacing work with sleep, things like that. So it's basically negative behaviors start to come out, frustration, from maybe things not going as well, but you see a lot of behavior changes. Okay, then stage 9 is depersonalization. Now, this goes even beyond withdrawal, where you are isolating yourself from other people, because other people aren't going to understand how much you need to work, or they don't understand what your goals are. So at this point, you're not talking to, your friends as much. You're not talking to those around you, your family, those, who are closest to you as much as you used to. You're just sort of pushing away and just focusing on work. And then stage 10 is inner emptiness. So at this point, you are feeling emotionally drained. So you start questioning your motivations. You start feeling, sad because, you don't have the kind of life that you used to before you started working too much. So you start to feel very hollow as a person. This is because, when you work too much, you sort of just become a machine. You're just there pushing buttons and getting things done. So you don't feel as much, as a person, as a human being with, emotions. So, that's what's going to lead to kind of an inner emptiness for you. And then stage 11 would be depression. So at this point, obviously you can see you've withdrawn, you have behavior changes, you're kind of hollow now. You're not interacting with your friends. You're not going out and doing things as much as you used to. So this is going to cause a state of upsetment. It's going to cause you to become depressed, wondering, why things aren't going as you want them to go. And also, no matter what success that you have achieved, you're going to forget a lot of that success. And you're going to just look at it right now and start, obsessing about those things that aren't working. You're not going to look back a month or 2 months before where you were at 0. You're just going to say, why am I not have more people following me or more subscribers, more. So it's like, no matter what, you're not going to be able to satiate that, and you're going to end up, depressed. And then stage 12 is mental or physical exhaustion. So, at this point, you're just collapsed as a person. You are tired. You aren't seeing anything, positively. You're only seeing negatives. You've maybe sacrificed sleep. You've sacrificed, your hobbies, things that you were enjoying, and now you're just tired and you're just collapsed, basically, as a person, mentally and physically drained. So those things can happen from, too much work focus, too much, zeroing in on your goals with your OnlyFans page and your business. So how do you avoid that kind of burnout? All right, so first, you want to, take frequent vacations to fully unplug. Now, obviously, in 2021, a little difficult with the pandemic to just go anywhere you want to in the world. And obviously for a lot of people financially, you can't just take vacations. You have other responsibilities. But in this regard, it would be taking a vacation from work, and that could be as little as leaving the room that you usually work at and going into another room, or going outside. You don't have to necessarily take a full-fledged vacation, but fully unplugging is very helpful. And, by unplugging, it basically just means, turning off your phone, your laptop, whatever you are using and utilizing for your OnlyFans business, and kind of give it a little bit of a break. All right, so second, you want to worry less about work-life balance and more about, your inner harmony as far as what you are about. So for a lot of people, they're looking and they're saying, okay, well, how much work should I be doing, or how much, compared to what, I'm doing with my hobbies and outside activities. But you should be looking at more of a harmonious nature of things. If you're doing things in your work life that you enjoy and that you're positive and happy about, you're not going to feel like you need to kind of separate the two as much. So you want to, not worry so much about, the amount of work you're doing, but the work that you're doing that matters most to you. Okay, and then third, know your breaking point. So everyone knows at what point that they have worked too much, that they have done too much without a break. You know what your limits are. So if you see your schedule, and we've talked about scheduling out your work, your marketing, and your content on this podcast so that you can see visually in a calendar or even on a list, what you have to do so you feel better about it, so you can check those things off. So if you establish your calendar, your lists, and you see, my goodness, I have basically given myself no breaks, you want to go ahead and establish breaks for yourself. You want to say, okay, well, this is probably a point at which I've done too much and I need to give myself either a whole day off, or I need to give myself, an hour or two in the middle of this calendar, to take a break. And that could mean the next day, doubling up on something, but you need to give yourself some breaks. And then number 4, fill your day with as much joy as you can, as much happiness as you can. Everything we do isn't fun. There's, I think as Zig Ziglar said, the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is successful people are willing to do what unsuccessful people are unwilling to do. And that could mean a lot of rote work. That can mean a lot of work that's not super exciting. So it's not all going to be joy. It's not all going to be great, but make sure that you fill parts of your day with things that bring you joy and happiness, things that you are passionate about. And if that means integrating things that you're passionate about into your OnlyFans, that might not necessarily mean that it's going to be, super productive, or that's going to be the content that everyone's going to buy, but it's the kind of content or, something that you're doing that you're really excited or passionate about. Do that. And we've talked before about, having a hobby that supports your OnlyFans as well, that other people can see what you're doing with your hobby. So, establishing that as well is helpful. So that's, if what you're doing with your OnlyFans isn't necessarily bringing you tons of joy, make sure that other means of promotion are. Okay, so number 5, you want to schedule free time. So that hits into what I mentioned a little earlier, which is that when you're building out your marketing schedule, your content schedule, that you put in there time for you. Not necessarily time to be doing a hobby, not necessarily time to be doing other work, but just you time. It could be time for you to sit there and read a book, or to listen to music that you love. Just time to just decompress. Some people would meditate with that time. Just really depends on yourself there. But you want to schedule free time for you. And it could mean free time to spend with family or loved ones as well that you're not spending as much time with. That will certainly re-energize you as well. Okay. Number 6 would be travel to change your environment. So we went over vacations a little bit earlier. Sometimes it's hard to travel, but certainly changing your environment. If you are working consistently in one place all the time, in one room, go ahead and go outside, and if you're working outside all the time, go inside. So change your environment, because it's going to, help you in the long run prevent burnout. Certainly going outside during the winter. It's winter right now, but the sun's still out. You definitely want to go and get some sun